Okay, we're alive. Hey everybody, we made it. Somehow, some way, we're back. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Costog Questions. I think that's what we're going with the name of this. It's still in like flux. We could change it. Who knows? We'll see. But this is episode 3, and exciting thing for episode 3. We have Cowbutt Crunchies joining us. I like had the hard time thinking. I'm like, do I say guests Cowbutt Crunchies or just guest Cowbutt Crunchies? That was
Whatever
like, I was caught up on that. I was like, which one do I use?
They are two people.
Muted.
So.
Yeah. Oh man.
Muted? What?
Oh, no,
No,
you're
you're
back.
I'm not. I just was
man.
mumbling.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So hopefully the sound plays nice for the stream. I got my fingers crossed, but technology likes to hate us, so hopefully it does not. But if you guys don't know Cowbutt Crunchies, you probably have been living under a rock. But
For real.
in the case you somehow don't, Cowbutt Crunchies are a cosplay duo, couple, whatever we want to label, we want to put on there. I don't know. You guys are, I forget where you guys are from. My brain is blanking.
Boston.
Boston.
That's what I thought, and I'm just like,
Boston. Where the Duncan comes from.
I was like, is that Duncan?
I had like a brain freeze. I'm like, I thought it was Boston.
We regularly do this, by the way, at like evening coffee.
Oh man.
Love it.
Yeah, like brain totally seized up. I'm like, I think it's Boston, but I'm not confident. Oh no.
Right.
So yeah, trying to think what else. Did I have anything else to say at the start? Oh yeah. So this format is pretty new still, considering this is episode 3. So the first hour we will be talking about questions that have already been sent in to us, or ones that we specifically wanted to talk about, questions or topics. And then we'll take a break after that first hour. And then once we come back from break, we will be taking questions live from chat. So definitely stick around for that part, because that'll be a lot of fun. But for now, we are going to get into some questions and topics that you guys sent in via Instagram stories. So that'll be the little piece of information for you guys. If you want to get your questions in for this section, make sure to check out either my or Sorairo-Days or whoever we have on for guests' Instagram stories, so that you can ask these for upfront, just for future reference, because I really did not get that information out there prior, but now you know. Okay, I'm just gonna go in the order that I have these in the Google Doc here. So we'll start off with the topic of researching cosplay techniques. Now, this is something that I know nothing about. So I will leave it to you guys to jump into this.
Oh man. Okay. No.
Still got a lot of hot takes.
Yeah, I got a lot of hot takes on research. First of all, people now, you guys don't even fucking understand how spoiled everybody is now. Once YouTube became something that was functionally accessible for 56-year-old women, once they got their husband to set up a dimly lit webcam focused on their 90-year-old and could figure out how to upload 720p crap video, research is amazing now, because you just type in heirloom sewing technique, lace making, anything on YouTube, and you can find some old lady doing it. So
Are you having PTSD about the olden days?
Yeah, what I learned how to sew, figuring out what a facing was, the first.
What?
Cutting out.
Freaking Mike. Say that last thing again.
Oh, a facing.
Yeah.
That's like a simple thing that should be easy to figure out what it is. But in like
Okay.
2005, when there's no Google,
It's not intuitive. And it's not easy. My mom had to explain that
Oh,
shit
but
to me. I
that's
was
why
like,
there's
what?
guides.
yeah, no, it's not necessarily intuitive how to do it, but it should be a fairly easy piece of information to find out what it is.
Nah, not back then.
No, back
Back
then it was
then.
hard.
Now it is.
Why don't you get out some of your favorite? Because you have a lot of books, actually, that you like as resources.
I collect books too.
I think the tutor one is in
Someone
that
on my
room,
Instagram
actually.
asked for a book.
I think the tutor one
the
is in that
corset
room.
books are in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I just bought this. I'm really excited to use this. This is a like textbook from like some fashion class that this dude used to teach in like 1972. It's like spiral bound. He's dead. I had to pay $200 for it secondhand because it's out of print.
Wow.
But I'm really excited to because it's got like how to draft everything from measurements,
Which is unusual.
Wow.
It's not the normal way.
Yeah, it's hard to find good instructions for how to do that. So I'm really excited to like at some point when we're not in the middle of making costumes to just do this.
Yeah, and then the other one you use a lot.
Let me go get my other books.
Yeah, you go get the other ones. And while you do that, so kind of like on the heels of what Scone was mentioning, this came up with my friend Silhouette, actually. We were talking about this the other day. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys saw this series of tweets going around, but sometimes like questions are super, super cool. And we really love answering questions about cosplay and helping people and kind of telling people like, here's where I screwed up. Here's where you should go. And I love that. That's kind of like what we've based our whole thing around. But then sometimes there are questions that you're less inclined to jump on. And those questions go like this. How did you make your Sakizo outfit? Or I'm making insert thing that I personally have never made before and don't have it anywhere on my account. Or super crazy easy question. How do I use a zipper foot? You cosplayer, take your time, do my research for me, and then feed it to me. That is not a question that I jump to answer. So I think while there are a lot more resources out there, I think people need to at least make the effort to try and use them. And if you get stuck, you get stuck. And that's a perfectly valid reason to ask for help. But you need to make the effort.
Yeah, I think anything that is very easily Googleable, when you ask someone like about that, when it's just like you could Google this and get an answer in like 30 seconds. I think that to me is what's frustrating. This happens as a photographer as well, when I get like photography questions where it's like there's sometimes where it's just like you could look this up in like 30 seconds. You don't need me to answer it just because I like know about a camera and maybe it's easier for you. Like, but
my favorite is because it's like you literally waited 3 hours for me to answer this when you could have Googled it literally in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, you know, it's not that our time is precious, but our time is precious. And if you want me to sit down and write you a novel on how I made Seraphim, that's going to be a novel for you. Or if you want me to sit down and hold your hand on something you could have Googled in 5 seconds, why do you think your time to not Google it is more valuable than my time to explain it to you?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I know it's not the intention, but it comes off as very callous.
Yes.
So I think sometimes what people misunderstand is that like, because we made a thing that like, you guys have done lots of Warbler things, right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't involve research every time you do it. Like I've done like foam armor multiple times, but every single time I do it, I always research it before I do it because I want to make sure like the materials I'm using are good, or like the technique that I'm gonna do is gonna be good, or like how am I gonna like fasten this to my body because the way I did it the previous time maybe wasn't as good. Like we're not all just sitting here like knowing what we're doing right away. Like it all involves some kind of research.
Well, and like there's I feel like people who do that sort of thing really think that there's some like magic secret. That if they're just
There's
told
not.
the magic secret, then they're gonna
Yeah.
skip. It's like the secret like tubes in Mario World, where if they can just go down the
I
tube, then they can skip to level 4.
Sarah, we have literally received multiple questions asking for the one weird trick to become a master sewer immediately without having to skip, without having to practice.
Literally, people are
I'm
like,
not
well,
exaggerating.
I don't want to spend a bunch of time screwing up, and it's like, well, that's the secret.
I
You
screw up
gotta
all the time.
pick it up.
Like I've been sewing for almost 20 years at this point.
Oh wow.
And like every time I do something new, because I really like doing new stuff, I go and I get on the internet and I look at like 4 or 5 people's different hot takes on how they did it, and I decide which one I want to try. And I usually screw up, but like it's that process never ends. But what books did you pull out?
Okay, I love to buy like fancy books. They're not cosplay books. They're actually like historical books. But like
Ooh.
historical ladies, these people are hardcore about like construction techniques and like shape.
That one's actually super new. Someone
This
in my
one's brand new. We bought this specifically to make good omens with.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had a
nice.
pattern that was not going well, and someone in my Patreon chat suggested it, and it's a super good book.
So this lady, I love her. She's also dead now. Her name's Janet Arnold. But she wrote a bunch of these patterns of fashion and a lot of like corsetry books. This
Oh wow.
one is actually compiled after her death, based on her notes. I had to buy it from a museum in the UK, but it's an amazing. Like, if you're at all interested in like corsetry, I highly recommend it because like it's like they go through historical and then they look at the actual garments and then they tell you how to recreate the garments with like scale patterns. It's so cool. I'm so excited to make something from it. Probably for Katsu.
I need a new corset. I don't fit in mine anymore.
I don't own any corsets.
Me either.
No, girl.
And they're so much fun because then you could just like be like, oh, I ate so much food last night. It's okay.
There's the pattern making one.
Oh my.
The other one, the other textbook.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think it's on this shelf.
It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a an early edition of like an actual textbook from like.
Oh, I've seen that before.
I got it for cheap because it was on sale. Yeah, actually, a lot of these diagrams have been scanned and distributed.
Mike.
But this one's really good too. You can get like like especially if you want like school textbooks like references to learn the fundamentals. Add old editions is a really cheap way to do it because the teachers keep demanding new editions so that they can make their commission or whatever the fuck from college students.
Makes sense. But any
Still
other
gonna have to fuck it up a million times.
any other specific advice you guys have on researching cosplay techniques?
Just do it.
Just do
Just
it.
use Google. It's out there. Trust me, it exists.
it-
You can find it.
Just kind of to pry deeper, is there any specific sites that you guys are like huge fan of that you're just like, oh, I find a lot of useful information from here?
For casting, I look at Brick in the Yard has a bunch of videos. If you need to do some like life casting, that one consistently I go back to a lot. YouTube.
I find a lot on not Etsy, Pinterest. If you search like different like I don't know like hand beating techniques or something, usually there's a lot of like hand drawn diagrams, especially from like Chinese, Korean, and Russian people. I've noticed. And you don't have to read the language. Like you don't have to be able to read it because they just have literally each step drawn out, which is pretty cool. like that.
Actually, for wig stuff, I really like the tutorials on Arda and Epic's site. They both have recently started doing videos. Well, actually, Arda's been doing it for longer, but they both have some really good general techniques for all kinds of wig work.
Awesome. Anything else you have, or are you guys ready to move on to the next topic?
I'm good.
Okay, cool.
They know more, so.
I feel like this is the one that seemed maybe the most exciting to you guys at the start, so we'll jump into this one, which is makeup.
Makeup.
Sarah, I feel
Eric's
like
got opinions.
yeah,
I
feel like you had a lot coming in up top.
Wait, let me grab the specific question that I got, because Jack is in chat right now, but I literally can't remember what he said. Hold on.
Oh, okay, I thought it was just makeup. Go.
I mean that
He
that pretty
said-
much is, but
Oh, he said do's and don'ts of things like makeup for photo shoots, gloss versus matte, that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, so he asked Twitter recently about, like, because he's doing, like, the KDA League of Legends outfits, and he was talking about, like, what to do for, like, lip color or, like, lip gloss versus, like, a lip tint, and I said, for me personally, I prefer matte. I think gloss tends to photograph kind of bad, especially if you're working with someone who doesn't necessarily know how to work with natural light or artificial light very well, and then you have to touch it up.
Oh,
and
that
even touching it
sounded very violent.
What?
That was very shady.
What do you mean?
Someone who doesn't know how to work with natural light or artificial light.
I'm just saying, like, some people just don't know how. It's 'cause
a bad
gloss is very
photographer.
reflective.
Don't know how to work with light.
Whatever.
People are just
Fine,
bad
it's like half the
photographers.
candy. Oh, hang on. Makeup for performance on stage versus shoots. Is it better on stage to be more dramatic? Okay. Oh, this is what I wanted to bring up. Utopian Pigeon just said, like, performance makeup, like stage makeup versus like real life makeup.
Yeah.
And this has happened to me before, like a long time ago, like when I first started shooting. And also, I think because makeup just wasn't as big back in the day either. But people just don't wear enough makeup for the camera. One of the best tips I ever learned in school was from some makeup artists and editorial photographers that I worked with, and they said to apply 20 to 30% more makeup than what you think you need to apply because the camera will just eat it up, basically. So, like, the makeup I wear day to day, I would never wear for cosplay because it's not enough makeup. Even though I load on eyeshadow and eyeliner, it's not enough. That's why I usually try to tell people when they're working on their makeup to just apply more than what they think. Yes, you kind of look like a clown in real life, but if you're going to be doing photo shoots and stuff, like, you need that kind of makeup, especially if you're working in harsher light settings, like artificial or indirect sunlight. That light is also going to eat away all your makeup, and you're not going to see it.
I think especially so on contouring.
Yes, on contouring, because, I mean, some people like the flat look, which is fine, but, like, our faces aren't flat. We all have bone structure no matter what kind of body type we have. So it's always good to just accentuate, like, the natural, I don't know, not curve. Like,
I just like, you're just like
dents in your face. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is that if you don't wear enough makeup, it makes our editing so much slower, because I have definitely spent a lot of time trying to touch up someone's makeup and enhance it more so they don't look like completely washed out.
It also almost like it gives us like a guide to go off of, because oftentimes I'm just like, okay, if you've done like contouring on your face, I know where you want the highlights to pop, I know where you want the shadows to come in. I'm like, okay, cool, I get this.
As opposed to like risking making a judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be real risky.
In general, I try to follow some, people's facial structures, and the only reason I feel like I know anything about makeup is because dodging and burning in photography is essentially like applying makeup digitally.
It's digital makeup. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of a judgment call there.
It's hard because, like, I know, like, because I know when I first started cosplaying, like, I don't know, 9-10 years ago, like, the mindset back then was kind of like to do the makeup at like how you think the character would do it. So like a good example is like Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. So the mindset is like Kiki's like, how old is she? I don't know, like 12. Like she's pretty young. So she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. She's, you know, she's barely a teenager. So the mindset back then would be like, oh, so just like Kiki, I need to wear like no makeup. But that actually ends up kind of working against you because you need to like accentuate your features for these photos, or else you just kind of like, I don't know, you lose a lot of detail, I guess.
I think people weren't very good at makeup back then either. Not gonna lie.
No, that's true too. Like
started cosplaying, people didn't even wear makeup.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even like the only time you would ever wear makeup, and by makeup I mean like colored eyeshadow over your eyebrows to match your like neon wig, 4 colors of wigs that you could get from Amphigory. So going from that to this has been a learning process.
Yeah,
I think,
but I can say just do more.
I think it's something I want to touch on here. Is I've occasionally gotten the comment of like, well, my character doesn't wear makeup, so I didn't wear makeup. Like
that's what I was trying to say about Kiki.
Yeah.
And
Which,
the character just naturally has flawless, beautiful skin.
Yeah.
So fix it.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, some people don't have to wear makeup. I've definitely photographed people where I'm like, you didn't need that. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Like, all they need is like a little bit of like dodge and burn, but like they really didn't. They don't need it. But I would say like 99% of us, you need a little makeup. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Even boys, like boys,
Please,
like
boys
boys
wear more makeup.
Are like that's for
Any
women.
makeup.
Wigs are for women. Makeup's for women. No, it's not. Do you have like perfect skin? No. Put some beauty cream, put some BB cream on your face.
Yeah.
Like, please, for the love of God, just pluck your eyebrows. Even just do something. Makeup and hygiene is not gender exclusive.
Well, like
it's not gender specific.
What makes me mad is when. And this is and not all boys, because we're friends with a lot of great cosplay boys who go the extra mile and do all of the stuff that
Jackarufu and
are
Chad
used
as well.
to doing. But when I see a male cosplayer say, I don't understand, why does no one want to take my picture? Why is everyone not consider me a hot cosplayer? Why am I not getting attention? And it's like, well, you're not wearing a wig. You're not wearing makeup. And the answer is, well, that's for girls. I shouldn't have to do that. And I should still get the same level of attractiveness recognition.
Oh my God, suck my dick. Shut up.
Like, no, it's for, I mean, makeup makes everyone look better. This is a visual-oriented hobby.
Yeah.
It's a
so I want to say something that my friend Joe says. He's always like, if you're gonna do the fantasy, you gotta bring the fantasy to life. Because we're always talking about how guys like don't do their makeup, and it's like, look, if you're gonna dress up as, I can't think of a character.
Joe.
Free guy from Free.
Guys from Free, great. Okay, like guaranteed, you're gonna have to like contour your eye shape a little bit. You're gonna have to contour your nose, contour your abs for all I care. Like, you gotta do some makeup. Like, you gotta.
Mm-hmm.
Please, like, don't get like 75% there and say makeup isn't part of the process. Because, like, honestly, like, for me, your wig and your outfit could be amazing, but if you have no makeup, it misses the mark. I'm sorry. Like, you gotta go the whole way.
Too, is like once you put the wig on, like it changes something about your face too. So like
that's because your costume is large and your wig is large, and then your face is like
your face doesn't. There's not enough going on in your face to compete with the really like attention grabbing. That's why like it's really hard for me to like actually apply makeup, because I always put on a lot and then I'm like, oh, I'm wearing way too much, and then I put the wig on and then I'm like, oh no, I'm not wearing enough. So
it's also the same reason why you need a wig. The rest of your body is covered in a crazy ass thing. You need to balance it with what's above your neck.
I look like a crazy person with just my cosplay makeup on. Like, I look psychotic.
Want to know what I look? I look like a total psychopath in Loki's makeup without the horns on. Even with the wig, without the horns, I look insane. I like we were at Supernova in Australia. We had to take like a 40-minute shuttle to the place. And so we were like, well, we can't wear the armor and the horns. And I put on the makeup and I put on the wig. And I was like, I cannot go outside looking like this.
Oh my God, I want to see.
I wore a different fucking wig to try and cover up how insane I looked.
That was totally me on the metro last weekend when I was wearing all my cosplay makeup. So I wore like a baseball hat and I wore like a hoodie because I was like, I don't want anyone to fucking look at me, but I also don't want to wear this wig on the train. So...
It's because of the contour. It's because I do boy makeup.
Yeah.
So I have like the heavy eyebrows, the heavy nose contour, and like no eyeliner. So I just look like
you look crazy.
Totally insane.
Scare the children.
I love scaring children.
Just to loop it back around to guys doing makeup. Not to defend guys for not doing makeup, but at least for me, as someone who has really, I mean, it's been like 8 years since I last cosplayed, so like I can't really say that I cosplay at all, but like for someone who, like, if I were to get into cosplaying again as a guy, I don't really know where I would go for like a good resource to get into it.
Hey,
YouTube.
What did we just talk about?
Yes.
You go to the YouTube and you are presented with hundreds of tutorials.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I totally, like 4 or 5 years ago, I was very, very sympathetic of trying to do makeup because like there wasn't anything, but like there's like a lot more guy beauty guys, and like while they're doing like way too dramatic eye looks for it to be passable for guys, like watch some of those and like watch some of the crossplay videos. Those girls are trying to look like dudes, so like what they're doing in terms of like eyeshadow and contour and stuff is what you want to do anyway.
I think a good base to start off with for guy makeup at least is to at least watch like the beginnings of drag makeup tutorials, because guys' skin is guys' pores are a lot bigger and more porous than like females, so like the foundation.
Bro, you haven't seen me without makeup on.
God.
Yeah.
Anyway, like guys' skin texture is a lot different than a female, so like their prep process is different. Like I wouldn't recommend the prep that I do for myself for a guy, for example, because it's just our skin is so different. So like I recommend looking at like drag queen tutorials, like not necessarily for like the whole thing, because obviously that is a lot, but like at least for your foundation and like your concealer, and like they're the queens of eyebrow coverage. I don't understand it at all.
I do that. I don't get it.
But then anything else, like any of the other beauty vloggers out there are great.
I like honestly at this point too, like if you go into a Sephora as a dude and you're like, I'm in a wedding and I'm getting pictures taken, those girls will hook you up with some basics, like skin stuff at least.
Yeah.
I also don't think there's an expectation for guys in the same way that there is for girls that you need to have a full face. I think, honestly, the foundation, the powder, and the blush, contour if you really, really want to, but like, frankly, the base, golden. Like half of some of my guy friends will do the eyeliner, and I think they look really good when they do it, but the other half, they won't. They'll just put some base cream on their face and the orange to get rid of their stubble, and that's it, and they look fine. That's totally acceptable because they've smoothed out their skin tone. So someone getting started, I don't think you have to go full hog. You just need a little bit of foundation to get started.
Oh, I just realized actually a good resource, it sounds kind of weird, are K-pop bands with men in them. So male K-pop groups, because they all wear makeup, but it's so subtle that it looks natural, but it's enough that they look super put together.
Sarah, have you heard of a show?
What?
We call it Too Many Boys, but it's not called Too Many Boys.
100X or something.
It's like 101.
I don't know anything about K-pop.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I just know BTS exists, and that's it.
Imagine you've got a stage and there's like 40 boys, 40 boys all singing this K-pop song, and you're like, oh, that's already too many boys. And then imagine 3 more stages with 40 more boys each rolled in and assembled.
Reality.
And there's just like dozens and dozens and dozens of boys all singing this K-pop song, and then the camera zooms out, and there's more boys on the ground. The boys that are too shitty to be up on the stage, and they're all competing to be in a band.
I'm done with you.
It's unbelievable.
Oh my god.
That certainly sounds like a
What is it
show.
called? It's not called Too Many Boys.
It's like 100X or something.
I'm gonna type in Too
Are
Many
you
Boys.
kidding me?
The reality show where 100 boys compete to be the final 5 in a K-pop group.
And actually, it's quite popular. The new one. Okay, no. Apparently, there is a
Not
band
called
called
Too Many
100%. I think it's 101. I really think it's 101.
I'm looking for 101
Oh,
right
it's
now.
Produce 101. Produce 101. And then they have Too Many Girls, but it's not as good as Too Many Boys. And then they have Too Many Boys and Too Many Girls China, which is pretty good.
Oh my god, is this real life?
It's real.
What the fuck?
It's real.
It's fantasy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you
Korea
like
is
that?
something else.
Too Many Boys. Like my fanfic.
Oh wow. Oh, there's a lot going on in chat right now.
Jack's winning, apparently. There's a lot going
Yeah,
on in chat.
I will say I do not envy boys having to shave and
Yeah.
Neither, but it makes a world of difference.
Yeah,
I mean, they need to do it, but like it looks hard. You have my sympathy.
From listening to our friends talk, the thing that they all struggle with is finding the right orange makeup for the stubble, because it seems like it's continuously getting discontinued.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to shave and then they have to put like an orange down to like block out the dark hair under the skin.
Like that's where the drag queens come in handy though, because they're always up to date on like what's good and what's not and all that stuff. So
I mean, there's also like old like theater, like old like actual stage theater resources for dudes, because those guys have been wearing makeup since theater was invented.
Yeah.
Ben Nye, I know, has like diagrams and stuff out there for how to do it. So
I don't want to touch on kind of like when we were talking about like Googling like sewing techniques or whatever earlier, is I think the other thing that people don't understand is that makeup takes practice. Like people are like, because I recently started doing like more boy makeup this year, and people are like, Sarah, you're so good at it. And I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm compulsively practicing. Like it's not like I do my cosplay makeup when I'm cosplaying. Like I practice a lot, and I also wear makeup every day for work, only because like I like to. Like that's not because like I feel like I need to. I just personally really like putting on makeup in the morning, and I enjoy that process. So like for me, putting on makeup has become a very like fast process, but like I do it every day. So it's not like I've become very familiar with like my eye shape, my face shape, like how makeup lays on certain days versus other days. Like I didn't learn this overnight, and it takes practice, just like sewing takes practice, or making armor takes practice, and cutting wigs takes practice. Like you're not going to be good at makeup overnight. It's not easy, like at all.
Not that I feel like I have a ton to add to this topic, but I also would like to just say that just because something works for someone doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because I feel like makeup ranges wildly based on your skin tone, your skin type, your skin, all the different things related to specifically you.
and
so
like your facial features too.
Exactly. Like people have been asking for a tutorial on my boy makeup, and honestly, like what I do is really different from when I say like the vast majority of people, because not a lot of people have monolid. Like I have a true monolid. Like I have literally no eyelid. So like when I do boy makeup, I have to create an eyelid with eyelid lace, and then I have to like draw it in myself to create that fake. It's all fake.
What is eyelid lace?
Hang on one sec, I'll go get it. Because people have been asking me about this.
Yeah,
so
I'm really interested in
I'm gonna
this.
go grab it.
Can I make a double?
I've got really hooded eyes, so I like.
Oh, actually,
makeup
Stone, I think you would benefit from it. Hang on one sec.
Yeah, I'm interested. You can't see my eyelids when my eyes are open. You know what I really enjoyed when Homestuck was popular, and we did a lot of Homestuck because you just put the gray everywhere and it was like a blank canvas. It was like all your features just washed out and you could just do whatever you wanted on top of it. It was
Yeah,
totally different.
You can actually get a lot stronger contour if you have body paint on, and it doesn't look totally bananas.
I think there's something to be said like about once you change your skin color, like our kind of like brains and the relevance to like we're able to like more acutely notice when we have like that baseline of like, oh, we know what this skin tone looks like, we know how things are supposed to look, but as soon as you have like, or you know, bright orange skin, bright blue skin, or whatever have you, like it kind of feels like it goes out the window. Like you can really do whatever and it feels right because you don't have that nearly as hard basis of what is correct.
Yeah.
I also love the Makeup Forever HD foundation.
Question: would it be bad if I reset my camera because it froze again?
I mean,
Did it? You're moving.
You're moving on our end.
But I can't see what I'm doing.
Oh.
Pull up Twitch.
Yeah, you just have Twitch up.
So delayed. Okay, anyway. So I couldn't find the packaging.
You can do it if you need to, though. It
there's
should be
like
fine.
no lace left on this sheet. Okay. So, can you see it?
Yeah.
So it comes on these sheets, and as you can see, they're like this weird like half circle shape. I've used most of this one up. That's why it's like you can see through it. So the material of it, honestly, it's like it sounds so fucking weird. It's like a really fine tool. Like that's what it feels like.
Like wig lace?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yes, that.
Okay.
I think you can kind of see it here.
Yeah.
So what I like about this stuff is, so my friend Miriko, she introduced it to me. Oh, there she is. Okay. It's because I've tried eyelid glue. I fucking hate it. I've tried eyelid tape. The shit never sticks because I think my eyelids are just, there's too much fat in them, so it just doesn't do anything. So the nice thing about the eyelid lace is that it really adheres to your lid. So what you do is like they give you this like little pink thing, and you put the lace, like you rip one out and you just lay it down, and then you put like eyelash glue or like eyelid tape. I use eyelid tape because it's not as like hardening as eyelash glue, I've found out. So this is kind of like trial and error. This is just me kind of like,
but are you like
going around
sticking your skin to other skin? Is that what you're doing?
Like,
sort of. So basically, like when I put,
so that
so you see this, like the shape of it, like it's like the half moon shape.
Yeah.
So basically, like when you put it on your eyelid, it like helps. How do I explain? It's so hard to explain. Maybe Paulina can explain it. She's in the freaking thing.
it like kind of it's something solid, so then it like pushes the skin and creates the indent where there isn't.
Yes.
But you're sticking your skin. You glued your skin.
Gluing the tape to the skin to
I glued the
something
lace.
like sort of semi-rigid on top of
Yes.
her
Oh,
eyelid.
okay.
Oh my God,
it just clicked for my brain.
Oh my God, Scott, thank you.
That doesn't bug you?
No, that's the thing. So I don't like tape and I don't like plain glue because it's like itchy or it like kind of hurts. But the lace is so comfortable. I don't get it because I think honestly by the time you paint it and then you peel it off of like the little pink thing, like there's only glue like on the fabric of the lace. So it's like not a lot of actual glue or like fabric on your eyelid. So it's like super comfortable. I wear for all my cosplay now because
Put a link to the thing. Put a link to buy it in there.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I love it. It's great. And I think people who have lids can also benefit from it because I think Paulina mentioned it in the chat. Yeah, she said, I don't have monolid, but my eyelids are uneven. So it helps her even out her eyelids because she sometimes gets like a triple eyelid, but the eyelid lace helps even that out. So even if you have an eyelid, it'll help define your eyelid shape and have it be more consistent.
So then once the glue dries, you can just put eyeshadow on top of it.
That's the other great part. So the other thing I hate about tape and glue is like once you apply any kind of makeup to it, it just like falls off or like it'll wear off within like an hour. The lace, you can put like So I'll do my whole like clean my face, moisturize, and all that crap, but I won't put any product on my eyelid because I want it to be like as dry as possible. And then I'll stick the eyelid lace on, let it like dry for like 30 seconds, kind of like eyelashes, like falsies. And then I'm able to put on foundation and powder and like eyeshadow. And like you said, because it's so rigid, it keeps its shape even after I've put all that shit on my lace. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. It's life-changing to me. Paulina linked it in the chat. That's the lace!
All right, I'm gonna send this to Pearl.
It's literally the most game-changer thing
it's on
ever.
Amazon. Oh.
It's great. But yeah, that's how I get like my like I mostly got it for boy makeup because I was having a hard time trying to draw a fake lid on and not have it look like shit. Yeah, this shit's great. It's amazing. And it makes your eyes look so moe. Kitty.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
man.
wants a hug.
I feel like this stream over the several streams we've
Oh my
had has
God,
had
look
so
at
many
her,
cats.
she's snuggle.
I just
Yeah, he just like climbs back there and eats
see?
her hair.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
here.
what a boo.
There you go.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
man.
what a chill cat.
that's
He's the bad boy. He's the bad one.
Oh.
He's a bad boy. Why is he a bad boy?
Because he's a little shit ass.
That would do it. I feel like we went pretty hard on that topic. You guys have any final thoughts on it before we move on to the next one?
Please wear makeup.
Yeah, please put it on your face.
Please wear eyeliner. I'm sorry.
I had to put on eyeliner before we got on camera, but
Yeah, but you have lashes where they're dense enough where you don't need it.
I put on mascara. I was like, good enough. Good enough for this shit.
Trust me, I've photographed some things. I'm just like, I basically got to paint on this person's face, and it's rough.
I feel like I'd need to do something if I didn't wear glasses because I have such light features on my face. Like my eyebrows like don't exist, and then
Oh, yeah,
neither
you
do
gotta
my
get to my
ashes.
light.
I get a brow pencil, but the glasses just are your eyebrows.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Amazing.
So let's move on to this. This was I'm going to put it up as a generic topic of posing, but one that specifically we had been asked about, which is kind of the idea of I don't really know what the right terms to put this is, but I'm going to say continuous posing, where the model is like switching up poses after like
I
every
call it
shutter.
voguing.
Yeah,
No, that's very nice. Thank you, Sarah.
It is. It's voguing.
Oh my God. Okay. Before we get into this, I saw a documentary. It was like a mini documentary. It was like 5 minutes long about like the life in the day in a life of a Taobao model, and like the amount of like poses she could go through. Like it was like watching somebody like pop and lock and vogue at the same time. Like
God,
it was amazing.
That's amazing.
Oh, have you not seen that video? Oh man.
I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, find that video. It's very funny. Sarah, this is the video I was referring to in the chat.
Oh man.
Oh really?
Yeah. You'll laugh a lot when you see this.
Yeah,
Like
because
2 poses every second.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the question is, do photographers prefer models who do the voguing,
Yes.
continuously change it up, or pick a pose and stand still, and that is their pose?
Yes.
You two are photographers, so you two take the question.
So I'll jump into this one because I feel like the last couple topics I didn't have quite as much to say. I actually I'm like in between on this. Sometimes I find it really nice, but most of the time, like when I'm shooting, I'm trying to nail down like the one shot, the one angle, and when a cosplayer is shifting through poses where I'm just like, no, you were fine. It's me. I was the problem here. Your pose was great. And then you switch to pose and I'm like, oh crap, this doesn't quite work for the angle that I was going for. Usually when I feel like it's me that's the problem in that scenario, because like I'm really just trying to get that one specific shot and angle, and it kind of like when I have the element switch up on me, my brain goes like, a little bit and stutters, and I have to rethink of things a little bit. And it can be really lovely sometimes where it's like, okay, I feel like I have the right angle nailed down, and now I have a bunch of poses to pick from. And we can just find which one works best. But if I were to pick which one that I rather do, I think I would rather have the subject stick to doing one thing, and then we can change it subtly or slightly as it goes, so that we can really nail down the exact thing that we're looking for. Not that I think that the voguing is bad by any means.
So for me, it depends on who I'm working with, actually.
Yes.
I think. Like when I work with like Regan, for example, and like Scone and then Stella, I'd say those three are the ones who are able to switch poses like every 30 seconds or so, like really well. I tell them to do that because I know that they can, which I know sounds kind of mean, but like you guys have done so many photo shoots and costumes and stuff that you guys know your angles like immediately, no matter where I'm shooting poses. But they work. Like you guys switch it up enough that it doesn't look like I'm photographing the same person every single time.
It's also super helpful sometimes because like, man, me as a photographer, I have like in my brain a collection of poses that have been stored here, and it's not that many poses. So like when you cycle through things, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool. I have it like, I can work, like, that's an awesome idea that I work with. It kind of feels like it takes a little bit of the mental load off of me, where it's just like, well, I don't have to worry about the posing aspect because you have enough down here. You have enough ideas that I'm not going to have to be like, oh, I need to think of this or anything. It's really nice sometimes where it's just like, I can worry about everything else, and the pose is not one of those things.
Yeah, but I would say like, minus those three people I just mentioned, I like to tell the cosplayers what to do and for them to keep it so I can get what I want. Like I said, I think it comes down with experience and posing and knowing your body and angles and all that crap in front of a camera and like the type of camera lens that they're using, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So for me, if I know you're good at it, I'm going to tell you to do whatever because I know it'll be good. But if our people are not as used to it, then I'll help them.
I think the biggest thing to me is there's definitely, even in those scenarios where the person knows how to do it, there is going too fast sometimes where like I've landed on something that I really like. Yeah.
Usually my rule is like keep it for like 10 to 15 seconds because then I have it on burst mode and I'm able to get like what I want.
My camera sucks, so I don't really get that many shots in 10 to 15 seconds. But
I will say it's always helpful as a cosplayer to have like, I'm happy to hold it or I'm happy to move around, but I just need some like feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have the photographer like, and he's not saying anything, and I'm like, is this a bad pose? Are you like trying to
so uncomfortable?
Are you trying to make the best of a bad pose? Because I'll move, and then I start getting like anxious, and then I start moving, and then he's like, "Don't move," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was trying to fix it."
Yeah, I think
if you like it, just tell me to stay that way, and if you want me to move, tell me to. I need instructions.
I have definitely had situations where where I'll get photos back and I'll be like, oh, it's a bad pose. I shouldn't have done that. And so I think that is kind of the paranoia that I should move until I do something that the photographer, because I can't, like, I do know my angles. I do know, what my arms look good doing, but I am not on the other side of the camera and I don't know what height they're at. I don't know what kind of focal point they have. And so I'm kind of my logic is I'm relying on the photographer to say, that's the pose, hold still, that looks really cool, and then I will hold it until they get the right angle. I think that's like the ideal way I would like to work. But it kind of depends on photographers. Sometimes, it just depends on if they're the type of person who communicates a lot during a shoot. I also really like it when photographers say, hey, hold that pose, stop it, and now tilt your head a little bit, and now raise your hand a little bit. That is my ideal photography situation, personally.
Okay.
Awesome. I think the answer to this question is it's complicated. But I do think, yeah, it really just depends on how confident and cosplayer is in their own posing ability, because I definitely feel like I haven't had the experience too many times where a cosplayer who wasn't very skilled at posing would try and change the posing very often. That really, Sarah, has that happened to you often, or even at all? Where
you put out?
Oh, sorry. Where like a cosplayer who doesn't necessarily have the skill to do all those changes in their position is doing that, quote unquote voguing.
Like, have I worked with someone who was voguing but wasn't good at it?
Yeah.
Or
yes.
No.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like I've maybe had that once.
Interesting. I want more deets.
I'm trying to think. No, I did like a long time ago, but I also was just starting out in photography, so I don't really count it because like I still was trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I can say there is, as a cosplayer, if you think you have like a change in the pose that would be better, like by all means do it. Most of the time, like I
actually have one other reason I just thought of why I like voguing, and maybe this is a me problem, but particularly at places like Katsucon. If I only have, and I know most of my voguing is very, very like, very, very similar.
Yeah.
But if I come in with, shut up, Sarah. But if I only come in with 5 poses, and I'm photographed 20 times, that's the same pose done over and over and over.
Cowbutt Crunchies.
Shut up.
You know what I mean. 20 times. In one costume. That's a problem that only you and like Stella Chu have.
No, people like if you go to Katsucon and you're a smarty pants and you go to Katsucon on Thursday, you will get photographed a dozen times.
That's true.
And it doesn't happen often, but finally, very, very recently with Helga, I had to stop and not post a photo because I realized I'm doing the same goddamn pose. That usually does not happen to me. And I had to stop and not post that picture. I have to put time between it.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But fortunately, by changing it up where I don't have set poses in my brain, I'm doing something a little bit different each time. It kind of eliminates that situation.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Like as soon as you brought up Katsucon, I knew exactly where this was going, and it makes perfect sense though. And I think even like disregarding Katsucon, like it's just helpful for most cosplayers to have more than a handful of pose ideas in their brain when they come into a con for their cosplays, because I've seen it a bunch of times where a cosplayer will get back where they literally had like 3 poses that they did with their cosplay and like you just see those same 3 poses like over many photos. So I don't know.
It's funny because like as a cosplayer, I do prefer to have the photographer to tell me what to do, because like I don't know my angles or my body well enough still in front of the camera, so I'll do a pose. I'm like, does this look like shit? Please tell me.
my favorite situation for posing is kind of this meet in the middle scenario where like I really want a cosplayer to come into a shoot with like a handful of poses either that they want to do or have already practiced, because I feel like if you have a base pose, we can alter it pretty well and get down to something that is different or looks really good. But like if we're coming up with poses from scratch, like I said, like my brain only has like so many pose ideas. Like posing is probably one of my weaker areas, and I really only have so many ideas stored in this brain, so I feel like I repeat a lot of the poses. But when a cosplayer can come in with like, oh, I want to do something like this, and I'm like, okay, well, we can do this and this, and then we'll come up with cool and interesting poses together. Teamwork makes
that's like a requirement now for my Photoshop bookings. I tell people to come with references, because like you said, you kind of default to the same like 5 over and over and over again, or whatever's in your arsenal. Another thing I've started doing actually is like I'll look at fan art for poses, because illustrators draw things so interestingly, and they draw the bodies in ways that maybe like concept art or like video game art don't think about, because they usually those illustrations are very kind of like static.
How do you feel when you get those and you have a pose and you're like, oh, that's really cool, and then you try and like get that pose to work and you're like, oh, I don't think the human body works this way.
It's like, oh, you're a contortionist? Fuck.
Because I've had like a couple times where I've done that, where I like had a reference photo and then you try to do it and you're just like, I don't think we can make this work. Like,
I kind of go into it as like, I kind of want to take it in that direction and then figure out how to replicate that in real life.
Know what I have tried, and I say this as someone who doesn't shoot that much anymore, but I used to shoot our friends back when we're just like, I need photos, and then we would all just shoot each other. I would really struggle, because in my brain I'd be like, well, I could do this pose, make a beautiful pose, but I'm shooting someone who does not have that kind of natural movement, or maybe can't move their body like that, or maybe they're too stiff, and it's very hard to kind of give that direction. Is something that I used to run into a lot.
Cool. I think that about covers where we wanted to go with that topic. We've got about 6 minutes before we're headed on to our short break, so I want to sneak this last one in, since I feel like it's a pretty short topic in comparison to everything else, which is just brought up is cosplay details, or I feel like maybe the better way to put it is there such thing as too many details in a cosplay?
Yeah. Rhinestone everything. Just kidding.
Can I talk about Homestick?
Yes, there is.
So there used to be a thing in Homestuck called Fancy Stuck, where it was sort of like an arms race for like how much extra crap you could put on your costume to fancy it.
What?
And the thing about like details and beading and embroidery and glitter and gold work and lace and all of that stuff is that it still has to be balanced. And so it's very easy if your goal is to go more details for it to start looking really unbalanced.
A hot mess.
Design problem, though.
That's a design problem, but like the thing is that these, unless you are going off of a Psychizo or a Maggie or like a particular piece of fan art, and you copying the design exactly, if you're adding the details yourself, then you're having to design it. And then you start putting all of this stuff in like one area, and then it's like, how do I transition that to another area to like keep it balanced and add details there? It can be tough. Yes, you can have too many details.
Yes, you can have too many details when you're designing. How about when you're photographing, though? Let's pretend it's designed well and is not a big lace monster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Sakizo is a good example, because, like, just because a Sakizo has a lot of lace doesn't mean that you should, like, go overboard, because the person who's drawing it is thinking about these really tiny details in a very particular way. Like, I mean, I don't fucking know, because I don't know anything about designing costumes, but I'd like to think that they're taking every, like, little pearl detail into consideration. Like they're not just like slapping it there because they just want to add texture. So it's like if you add things on top of the things that the Sakizo design has already, like it can look overwhelming or like a hot mess is really what I want to say. Another comparison, this is going to be so graphic designy. I don't know if anyone's going to understand what I'm saying, but it's the best way I can think about it is like when you're looking at a magazine or like a magazine cover, for example, there's like typography hierarchy. You have the title of the magazine that's really big, and then you have all of like the subtext, which is talking about the stories that are in the magazine that are like a smaller size. That's great because there's contrast between the big text and the little text. Now, if I was to add another size of text, it's like small shit that no one wants to read, then it's just like text and text and text and text, and your eye like doesn't really know like what to read first. So it's kind of like the same with detail work. At least this is how I kind of view at it. Like when I'm trying to add details to a costume, I'm kind of like, okay, if I add this other layer of like lace or like rhinestones, because I fucking love rhinestones, like is it going to detract from the costume? Like I try to think if this detail that I'm adding is actually adding something to the costume and not just by like adding something to it, but like is it doing something for the costume or is it just like detracting from everything else that I'm trying to achieve?
I think that's an interesting way to put it.
You want to keep a certain amount of like contrast between like your types of detail too, or the whole thing starts like if you have like 6 sizes of beads at a certain point, it doesn't look like you have 6 sizes of beads. It just looks like your beading is really uneven.
Exactly. And it's like or like focusing on just trim. Like you don't want to be layering like just lace and lace and lace and trim, but then don't do any kind of detail work near the trim or something. Like you have to like space it out. And, I don't know what I'm
saying. I understood what you were trying to say.
I was like, I'm trying to bring this. I think
it came through. But then again, I do have a graphic design background, so like maybe I get it.
Contrast. I think contrast is the best thing. Intentional contrast.
I think the biggest thing that you were also trying to highlight there is like if you have a major detail that you're trying to show off, does adding this other detail like take away from that attention of the major detail? So maybe the thing that you're adding should be more subtle so that you're not taking away from that major detail, that it's still you can still add that detail but make sure it's like not as upfront or maybe a little bit more subtle. That would be the way I interpreted that a little bit.
No, that's actually a good example. Like sometimes I'll see people like or things online where they'll do like a really intricate like patch design, and then they'll put on like the back of, I'm just going to use like a denim jacket. When they put it on the back of the jacket. So let's say the design is, what is popular right now?
Samus.
The freaking, I know, Sasuke.
Boku no Hero.
Boku no Hero, like the UA symbol. Let's say the UA symbol. So let's say people want to like rhinestone it to make it sparkly or add like a trim border. Like sometimes like in that case I think that's cool, but it's like that's an example of doing something that's like I like to call like it's like tone on tone. So since the UA symbol is yellow, I would maybe adorn it with like tiny little yellow rhinestones or like a really skinny trim, but I wouldn't do something like that like orange rhinestones and like a really bulky trim because I don't want to detract from the original integrity of the UA logo, if that makes any sense. It's more like enhancing. Yeah.
Like, so I follow like a shit ton of like all the high-end fashion designers all have Instagrams now. Yep. And like repost accounts will all just post. And like if you look at them, like the detailing that they do is like super, super subtle, but then they just do so much of it and it's so consistent across the entire garment that it creates these amazing effects. But like it's something that unless you're gonna commit to doing like 140 hours of like hand beating tiny glass beads that you can't even see you can't even see until there's like 40 of them in an inch. Like, no cosplayer has time for that. I don't have fucking time.
Sam has time for that.
Well, I think that's a good place as any to for us to take our break. So we will be back in about 5 minutes or so here. And when we come back, we will be doing our live Q&A. So, guys, this is where we need your help. So, think of some questions. Don't post Don't post them now because it'll scroll up. Post them like when we're back. And ask us questions. It can be about cosplay. It can be about photography. It can be about anime. It can be about anything.
I don't watch anime. Don't ask me about anime.
Okay, don't ask Scone about anime.
Ask me about Good Omens.
Yeah, it can be about media.
About
it can be about whatever the well, apparently you need to ask questions about Good Omens. That's apparently a requirement now. But anyways, get questions ready. So we're going to be on break, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. See you guys soon.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, we're not live. That's right.
Now we're live. We're live now.
I was like, Sam! And I forgot we were not actually live.
We're live now, so you can do that.
Sam, are you in the chat? Oh, Hammy. There's my Hammy.
Kitty.
It's my Hammy. He's a potato.
Well,
yeah, this is
back.
the Cowbutt.
Oh, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look at her butt. Look at her.
Well, I tried. And she ran away. Yeah, we're back, and it's time for us to answer your questions and stuff like that. I forgot to say this at the top of the stream, so I'll say this now. This is bad on me, but if you're enjoying the show and you want to see it continue, consider either giving a sub or a donation. They're by no means expected, but they are greatly appreciated. And always, if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which is one free sub per month that you can give to any streamer of your choice. So make sure that you're using it. We'd love it if it were here, but really, if you have it, use it. Just use it. Okay, let's get back into this. We're wait for you guys. Utopian.
The blower knows.
Utopian Pigeon asked the question of how the hell did you find Crowley's glasses?
Oh, that was.
Oh, wow. I was like, I should bring them on camera. And then, here, actually, let me go get them.
She spent like 2 weeks looking for them, essentially.
Wow. Are they very
Etsy.
specific shape?
Yeah, so they're very specific. Like they should buy actual antique glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because this is like the scene that we're doing is set in like the Elizabeth.
They're not Elizabethan glasses.
They're not Elizabethan glasses. They're just clearly glasses that somebody. Oh yeah, it's that IKEA chair.
Yeah. So. Whoops, they're not in there.
They don't fit in there anymore because we had to adjust them to your face.
Yeah. So for these glasses, I was researching antique glasses. I was looking for them, and then I came across a listing for 1850s glasses, and these definitely were the correct ones. And so then it was a matter of finding one that was in good enough condition, that was not $1 million. But these, and
wow,
I'm 99% sure these are his because the sides look like this.
Wow.
So these are 1850s antique glasses, and what I'm going to do is take out the lenses, cast them with a dark resin, because back then back then the only tinted glass they had was green. They didn't have dark. So I'm going to recast them with resin and then put a stain on these to make these slightly darker.
My God, that's so cool.
That's intense.
I'm really
That's
happy
awesome.
I found these. But if anyone else is doing the Elizabethan outfits, they are 1850s Georgian glasses with a sliding arm.
Huh.
That is a tidbit that I feel like only cosplay can ever take you
Yeah,
to.
right? I was like, oh, my glasses suddenly feel very pedestrian.
Yes.
Oh my
I love that they have the sliding arms. That just feels like... But
if you look at the photo of him, there was it was a very, very distinct, weird arm, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I found these and I was like, oh, it's like the way, because back then the glasses like were not really made for your face super well. They were like almost too small. And so they'd like they'd fall off your face. And what they did for like this period of time is the arms would go really far back. So you have one kind that swings open on a hinge, and then you have this kind that slides out. Yummy. It's a Cowbutt. She is back.
Oh man.
Here in my screen.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. You guys see this Cowbutt? No. Stand back up. Stand back up, sweetie. Oh, see, look in Scone's screen.
Oh man.
You see?
Oh.
You see her butt? You see how large her body is?
Yeah.
Cow.
Shaped like a cow.
What? I don't see it at all. I'm looking up these glasses. I'm so distracted.
I'm looking at the chat.
So I'm indexing them as they come. I think this one's kind of a fun one from Partholona, which they ask, what's the oddest place you've shopped for cosplay supplies?
That welding supply store in Cambridge that we had to like leave work early because they were only open like 3 hours a day in the afternoon.
Welding supply store.
Before you could just buy steampunk glasses everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was like 10 years ago though.
Hey, I mean, still counts, I guess.
I mean, so before we didn't have like the high density foam in the States, so I was buying it from like Germany, I think, or Belgium. I was buying it overseas. I think that's probably the weirdest, most desperate thing I've done for foam. But other than that, I don't really go anywhere weird.
Oh man, there was a place downtown that was like, it's like a manufacturer where they make like plastic signage and like plastic like items for like manufacturing. But then in the corner of their website, they're like, we have a scrap bin, and I was like,
ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. So I went and got like these big blocks of acrylic to like carve down into icicles. But it was like, again, I like walked upstairs. It was like an office, and they were like, "Can I help you? Would you like to like make?" I was like, "No, I was looking for the scrap bin." And she like takes me through like 6 offices and is like, "Here's a scrap bin."
That's
nice.
I feel like that would feel so weird. I'd be like, am I supposed to be
weird?
here?
But then I was like, "Oh, this is a lot of nice plastic." So
Sarah zooms in on the kitty.
It's great because I can admire him and not have like an allergic reaction.
that is very much true. I can agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
While I have time, because I forgot to say this, I was gonna lead with this up front when we came back, but my brain totally shut down. I wanted to thank Jackarufu and Partholona for the subs. Appreciate it, people.
Yay.
And then Utopian Pigeon, thank you for the 200 bits. Hell yeah,
Courtney
thank you.
coming in hot today.
Oh yeah, this next question from Jackarufu, which I mean, thank you again for the sub. What products do you recommend for coloring brows to match wigs? I usually can never get enough pigment with just eyeshadow.
Now, are you talking about? I don't color my eyebrows anymore.
I do them
Asian
blonde.
eyebrows. Asian brows suck.
We have a product for light colored wigs that Anastasia
Anastasia has good.
Oh, the brow gel?
Yeah.
Like the one that looks like a mascara, but it's like colored blonde is really good for like, they have like a whole selection of natural colors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like doing like a unnatural color, like clear brow gel, like the stuff that's just meant to keep stuff in place.
Oh, see, I go over it with the NYX white pencil, and then I put shadow on top.
Your brows are a lot heavier than
I
mine.
have thick ass
You have really
eyebrows.
heavy, really dark eyebrows. Like, I'm kind of lucky because they're not super.
There's this like anime makeup person I follow. Hang on.
Yeah, the brow mascara is super good. We've used that for like age, like way before Anastasia became like
Anastasia's like
supply store.
best brow product. Okay, this person. Okay, their YouTube is called Winnie Yap, and they do a ton of like eyebrows from scratch. And something that I thought was really interesting was that they actually use black as their eyebrow base and then go over it with color, and it shows up really well. I would think of doing the opposite. Like I would do what you would do, Regan, is use white and then do color, but they do black and then color it in, and it shows up super well. It's bizarre.
So I think the idea
they do it for all their eyebrows.
I think the main idea is you need something that grips to the eyebrow, and I don't think it matters so much what the color is.
No, I couldn't.
Almost like
but their eyebrow
primer.
Tutorial covers, I think, cover tutorials are really good. I don't do mine properly, so don't ask.
I will say, like, yeah, the quality of your eyeshadows is like really
key.
I'll buy a lot of cheap makeup, but I won't buy cheap eyeshadow anymore.
Same. I splurge on eyeshadow. No.
I also don't honestly care a lot about matching the color. Like usually at the most, I will like tint it. Like the blonde is important because you look like a kind of like an idiot. Like because my eyebrows are so thick, I have to make them blonde.
True.
But like if I have a red wig, like maybe I'll add a little bit of red. But like I don't like the bright ass anime colors. That's just me.
I think if the wig is a color where it is like on par with being blonde, then you need to do
that's like different, but that's
like a light mint, like a weird color, but like it would be the same color difference between your brows and blonde.
Yeah,
but if it's a darkish wig, like medium to dark, like
I don't do colored eyebrows anymore for color. Like if I have a funky hair color, like I just do like a lighter brown over my non-existent eyebrows. It just looks weird. Like it just doesn't really look good in my opinion, and it also doesn't photograph well. I've noticed.
The thing I have to do that blonde gel because I've forgotten it sometimes, and I get the photos back and I'm like, I look like a moron. Like
I love that Anastasia. Like if you just get the lightest Anastasia color, like it'll usually.
Like if you have a really heavy brow like mine, you're not going to go pure blonde, but you're going to go light enough that it doesn't look weird.
Yeah, I'm going to check out this Anastasia.
I love it.
Because I've tried other ones and they just don't work.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have eyebrow hair. These are drawn in people. These are.
Oh God.
Let's move on to the next question. I'm going to quick insert this before we do that, though. Beyond Infinite Media, thank you so much for that Twitch Prime sub. Hell yeah. Thank you. Utopian Pigeon asks, what's the do's and don'ts with working with photographers? I always feel like an awkward potato and don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Oh my God, Scone, I thought your thing said scone poop, not scone pop.
Scone poop.
Scone poop. That's more accurate.
So is this a question for like how photographers want to work with each other, or how to reach out to a photographer? Because I also have trouble reaching out to photographers.
I think it can be both. Because
y'all have no problems. You can ask anyone, and they'd be like, "Hell yeah!"
No, I feel so like awkward. I don't want to like waste their time or lead them on and shit. Like I don't know, it's weird.
Let's jump into that section, and we'll loop back around to kind of just the do's and don'ts maybe of actively working with them. I think honestly, the biggest thing for me when a cosplayer reaches out to shoot with me is like, one, I want them to actually be serious about it. Like if you're reaching out to shoot with me, I want it to be like I'm genuinely inquiring, especially like if I turn around and be like, oh hey, my rates are this, and you are just like, oh well, never mind, then that's like the biggest thing is just like if you genuinely want to work with someone, and there's someone who does like paid shoots at conventions, and they turn around and give you their rates for like shooting at a con, and you're just like, no thank you. That's like the biggest way for a photographer to be like, what? Like you wanted to shoot
Honestly,
with me, I give you my rates, and then you pieced out. No,
to me, you're blacklisted.
It's always hard because like for me, if you like, I on my Facebook page, although I feel like probably not many people even see this anymore, like I personally have a list of like cosplays that I really want to shoot. If you're I think I wish that was an idea that more cosplayers or cosplay photographers did, because like there are cosplays that like, if you're doing this cosplay, I want to shoot it. Like, and if you want to work with me and you have one of those cosplays, that's like the quickest way for me to be like, oh hell yeah, I'm like down to clown. So if you have one of those cosplays and you're reaching out to me like, hey, I saw this like cosplay on your list and I do this and we're going to like the same convention or something like that, chances are I'm going to be very interested in working with you. But
in that case, are they paying you or no?
Yeah, that's always this is like the hard dance here with like a cosplayer reaching out to a photographer. I think the biggest thing is if you're someone who like wants to work with a cosplay photographer and you don't have like the financial capabilities of paying that cosplay photographer, I would be like, before it's even money's even brought up, I'd be like upfront about like, hey, I'd love to work with you. I have a cosplay that I think would be amazing to shoot with you. I'm not financially in a place where I could afford to pay you, and I totally get it if you can't. But if you'd want to shoot this and it'd be something you'd enjoy shooting, I'd love to work with you. But if not, I get it. Like, I think just like acknowledging it, because like most of the time we're all people. We all get it. Like there's times where you just like don't have the money to do it. And I think most photographers that aren't like douchey people, if you phrased it like that, would be like, oh yeah, totally. Like, I won't, even if they say no, I don't think many photographers would be offended unless they're like really up their own butthole. No,
because then it at least shows that the cosplayer acknowledged for rules.
Yeah, it acknowledges the situation, be like, hey, and it shows like, hey, I really care and love your work, and if I was in a different situation, I would pay for it, but I'm not, and I get it if the answer is no. Like, yeah. It's
all about wording, because like I actually had an experience when I was doing Otakon bookings. I don't care if this person is watching. I don't care because I blocked them. But I basically had an instance where someone asked if I could shoot their Kingdom Hearts because they saw that I really like that series. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. But like, just letting you know, like, it's going to be this amount of money and like, you're going to get this many photos back. And like, these are your rights. Like I gave them like a very like TLDR because they had submitted through my Google form. And the next thing they sent me was, oh, I have to pay. And I was like, yeah, you have to pay. I was like, it takes me a long time to edit, and then I have to like, we shoot for like 30 to 45 minutes. Like this isn't like a quick, like I don't make this like a quick thing. And then they were like, yeah, like I just don't have the funds right now. That's my favorite phrase. I don't have the funds right now. Like, do you mind like negotiating? And I was like, no, it's this price or we're not working together. Like, but if they had said kind of like the way that Andrew just said it, it would have been completely different. But because they had come in with the idea of like them not having to pay me, even though I had explicitly stated that my shoots are paid, I was kind of like, okay,
yeah, I think there's a way to say, to acknowledge that, like, whether or not you're like in that case, it kind of felt like they were coming across entitled versus like, hey, understanding like that your work has value and coming into it with that perspective. Like there is a strong difference, and sometimes that can get a little skewed in text. So that's why I always try to be like, when you're communicating with someone via text in a way that could be easily misconstrued, I think you should spend a little time trying to maybe like over explain the feeling that you're trying to get to that person, just because like it can so easily be lost. Because people can interpret, like if they have like a thought of like how you're saying a thing, even if that's not how you're saying a thing, like they can interpret it that way if there's no other context clues, even if you totally didn't mean it that way. And that's like the annoying part, especially like in like if someone's messaging in like these quick communication formats, like,
well, because her sentence can either been perceived as, oh, I have to pay,
Anytime
or
you got the question mark on the end.
I have to pay. Oh, well, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, there's no tone, there's no intonation.
No. When you reply with a rate saying you're clearly going to pay, and then the response is not, oh, okay, like it's I have to pay. Like that's
what I heard.
Yeah, like I don't think that there's a way for that to even
what that is.
come across. Like the answer to that is you say that to yourself out loud in your computer room, and then get back on Instagram and you're like, oh, I'm really sorry, I can't out of my budget right now, or whatever.
Yeah, there's just it's just how you word it, like in anything on the internet. Yes. But I just was so taken aback. I was like, oh, fuck. That's the first time I've experienced that.
I think the other thing is to understand that just because a cosplayer really likes a series doesn't inherently, or a photographer really likes a series, doesn't inherently mean that they want to shoot your cosplay from that series.
One thing I struggle with, and I think this is a Regan's unique problems that are not applicable to other people situations, is I actually don't like to book shoots at Katsucon. I prefer to shoot really short shoots with people and network with a lot of people. And so in that case, I actually, like, even when people reach out to me, I will usually tell them, like, no, I don't want an hour shoot. I can only be in Helga for 4 hours, and I really don't want an hour shoot.
Yes.
And in that
efficient too.
Yeah.
Like you only need 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this is like Regan's stupid personal problems. So in that case, I don't ever necessarily know what to do in terms of like, because I don't want to book a full shoot, but like a lot of times most photographers don't offer, I'm gonna shoot with you for 15 minutes. And also sometimes some photographers don't like to shoot for only 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because that is exactly my preferred method of doing shoots. So when I'm doing free shoots at a con, when I have people like sign up to be interested, I'm just like, hey, I'm not setting a time slot with you. Like if I reply back that I'm interested, we'll like figure things out at the con. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it does, it does. Like, same. And the shoot could take 5 minutes. It could take 20 minutes. Like, we're just going to play it by ear. And I honestly think that makes a con way more enjoyable. It kind of removes a lot of stress factor, and you can just kind of like, because there's some times where you're on a shoot and you're just like feeling it and you're like, oh, this is going awesome. And you want to spend like that extra time with it. And sometimes, exactly, where you like, I only needed 15 minutes, or sometimes you're like, I only need 5 minutes. Like, we got that shot and we were in and out and we like nailed it. And like, you don't want to feel like obligated to have, like, oh, well, we set up this time and we said we were going to shoot for like 20 minutes. And now here we are, just kind of twiddling our thumbs. And that way you can just be like, we did it. Awesome. Let's move on.
I think it's hard because, like, that's why I changed my time slots to 30 minutes, because I was starting to realize that now that I'm comfortable with shooting, like, I don't need a full hour anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's very dependent on the level of the photographer and the people you're working with. Because I used to do hour slots all the time, but that's also because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I needed an hour to, like, dick around on my camera and, like, pray to God a photo would come out. But I think nowadays, because people have gotten so much better at their skills at being a photographer, you don't need that 1 hour. But I think because we've been so adapted to the 1 hour time slot idea, it's like I almost feel like people say 1 hour because they think that that's what they need, but they don't. Like, more time doesn't necessarily mean more and better photos. It just means you're spending more time.
I think there's an impression amongst cosplayers where a lot of people still don't realize that most of the time is your editing.
Yes.
And they see,
Thank you. Oh my
20
god.
minutes. I'm only getting 20 minutes for my $120. What the shit? Like, and no, you're getting $120 for edited photos.
Thank you. That is very
Thank
clear
you.
because
oh my
like
god, a queen.
we
stand Cowbutt Crunchies.
Honest to God, my preferred shoot time is like 15-20 minutes.
Yep.
That is after 20 minutes, I start to get bored.
Yeah.
Yo, that's a big thing.
The only time when I feel like I need more than that is if I'm doing a shoot across like multiple locations at a con.
Yeah, that's different.
Or group.
Yeah,
A group.
a group, or if
Or
I'm
it's like a really elaborate outfit and they need time to move. But
or I'm doing
Or you
lighting
could be
because I
Helga
suck
and
at
just
lighting.
not be able to move.
we got you over there. It's fine.
Dude, I love whenever I shoot Helga.
Well-
Everyone's like always expecting me to like do like my crazy ass poses, and I'm just like, I cannot move my body.
And you were like this. I was like,
Your like
my
little
God.
JoJo thing that you do.
My little Tyrannosaurus Rex. Posing. Like I was posing with it. I can't remember who I was shooting with, and they were just like, "Oh, put your arm up like this," and I'm like, "Can't."
That was me.
Oh, was it you?
It was me.
Yeah, I cannot fucking move in that.
I didn't think about the sleeves. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're not flexible.
The one thing I want to loop back and say, when I do paid shoots, I do set time slots just because I feel like there, when there's money involved, it's like,
Yes.
then I want to set that time just because I want to hold, myself responsible, but also the cosplayer responsible. And if it was free flowing and then you missed like the shoot because that would not be great. And also wanted to loop back on editing time. That is so freaking true. Cause like, I know for me, if I shoot for 20 minutes and I'm like getting like 6 photos back, I probably am going to spend like 6 to 8 hours on your set. And like, yeah, that's really what you're paying for. That's the time that you're paying for. Like my 20 minutes at a con is not like, that's not like the shooting part is not even remotely what yes, it's part of what you're paying for, but it's really the editing that you're paying for.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of flack for upping my prices for Otakon because they were like, wait, it's only 3 photos and it's $120. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but I'm spending at least an hour editing your 3 photos.
Yeah.
So it's like a total of like 3.5 to 4 hours for $120. That's nothing.
Yeah. And let's be real, like cosplay photo shoots, like rates are so out of whack with the normal photography rates outside of convention.
Did I tell you guys I almost got banned from Facebook, or I think it was Facebook. Yeah, because I made a big stink about that like 3 years ago. I made a expectation or expectation like versus reality photographer rates for cosplay photographers, and I basically was like doing like I don't know like freelance for like freelance photography like in the normal world versus cosplay photography, and I basically was saying like cosplay photographers are not even remotely charging enough money.
No.
And I don't know why it got flagged, but I legit got this message from Facebook about it, being like, if you post one more thing, we're going to shut down your page and ban you. I was like,
what the fuck?
I'm just trying to make a point. I'm not even kidding.
That's so weird.
So this is why this week that's going.
At me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear myself, so it's probably
I think it's
me.
good. I think it's good now. Go ahead.
Okay. All right.
So like this is I have no good idea for this. But this is why I whenever a photographer says I am not doing public bookings, I am only booking what I, the photographer, want to shoot. This is why. Like if you guys are not charging work rates, you need to be editing and shooting something that you love.
Yeah.
And if you're demanding that photographers open up their bookings to the public and shoot things that they don't care about, then you're going to charge working rates. So you can't have both pieces of cake.
Oh, I also got a lot of flack about that too. When I changed my whole booking like in the past year. I was like, I'm only doing 30-minute slots. I'm finally upping my price, and I'm only shooting what I want to shoot because I just when I shoot something I don't care about, you can tell I don't care about it. Like the photos look so bad, and I was like, I don't want someone to pay me money to give them shitty photos. Like that is just unfair and not professional.
If you don't care about it, it's work, and you should charge work rates.
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of my thought.
That's
But if you care about it, and it's your hobby and your passion, then if you want to charge less because it's a hobby and it's a cosplay thing, then that makes sense. But like people, like cosplayers cannot demand these open bookings. So mute your mic, please.
Okay.
Cosplayers cannot demand these open bookings. Yeah.
We're trying, folks.
And also
doing our
demand
best.
lower prices.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to give the photographer the freedom to book what they're passionate about or pay the rates.
So, like, when I first changed it, because that's when I was getting the most flack, and it wasn't, like, anything bad, but I was getting messages from being like, that seems a little unfair that you get to choose what to shoot, blah, blah, blah. And every time I get these...
Who said that?
I'm not telling. But every time someone says these things to me, or I see it being said to my other photo friends, or just, like, as a general statement on fucking Twitter because someone decides to go off about fucking nothing, I always try to spin it in from a cosplayer's perspective. Like, do I want to spend money and my time sewing a costume from Pirates of the Caribbean if I don't care about it? No, I don't. Like, it's the same exact thing. It's like, I'm not going to make a costume for a character that I'm not emotionally invested in, but that's also just me. Or if I don't like the design, or if I don't like whatever, like...
But if I commission you and pay you $20 an hour to make a thing you don't give a shit about, then it's different.
Then, yes, I will do it. Because you're paying me for my time as a working professional.
And I have been in that situation when we were younger cosplayers, where there have been people, where there were people that I really, really wanted to work with, but they closed public bookings. And then I was like, well, this sucks. I wish I could work with them, but I wasn't going to like message them and be like, I demand that you let me book with you. Like, who the hell does that?
Oh, you'd be fucking surprised.
Yeah. Since I want to kind of cover the other side of this question,
I do want to cover what Jack brought up too.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
I think it's a very
before we transition off this side of the question.
He said, I think a lot of cosplayers should find that they should never assume you don't have to pay a photographer just because you've worked with them before or are actually friends with them too.
Yeah, unless
the photographer brings it up, the cosplayer shouldn't be the one that initiates that conversation. And I totally agree, because I've totally had people who are like, "Oh, I'm kind of Sarah's friend. They'll just shoot me for free. I don't need to like book them or whatever." And I'm like, "No, the people like when I say like I shoot my friends for free, like the ones who I legitimately shoot for free are like Joe and Paulina. Like, I talk to them every single fucking day. They are my close friends. They are my close
not
friends.
People I talk to and see at a con occasion, and I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going, bud? It's like friends, like the people I hang out to. The people that I hang out with when we're not cosplaying.
Or the people that I shoot for free or cons are people that I reach out to.
Yeah.
Like, you guys. Like, the work you guys do all the time is fucking amazing.
I love this comment.
Photograph it.
I love this comment from Sam Saturn, which is people
sometimes. Sam, I love you, Sam. I love you, Sam. Come pet my cats.
Thank you, Sam.
She says sometimes people forget photographers are artists too and want to make art. That's 100%.
That's a whole other spicy topic.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms. Let's not dig too far into that one, but I love that sentiment. So
yeah, like my rule of thumb is I do not ask photographers, hey, do you want to shoot my thing, unless I'm booking a shoot. If you reach out to me and because it's something that has caught your eye and you want to shoot it, perfect. But if I reach out to you, I'm booking a shoot.
Yeah, that's
out to somebody unless I'm gonna pay them.
That's common sense. That's just people are.
Let's jump into the other side of this question of the do's and don'ts with working with photographers. Is there anything that you guys think of that you're just like, no, that's not great?
Like what?
Not really. The only thing I can possibly think of is when, like, occasionally I'll get tagged in just a wildly unflattering photo, and I wish that wouldn't happen. But that's the only thing I can think of.
So I honestly, the biggest piece of advice that I can give here is that communication is amazing and wonderful, and probably fixes 99% of the problems that you could encounter. Almost every time when I've gotten like questions like, oh, what should I do in this situation? I'm like, talk to the photographer. Like, they were there, like, they probably don't know, they can't read your mind on things. They like, if you talk to them about things and you have like a clear line of communication, like, chances are things are going to work out just fine. Lack of communication is, I feel like, what causes most of the problems and fixes most of the communicating fixes most of those problems.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
That said, I think the biggest things I would say is that if you're a cosplayer and you're worried about things that you shouldn't do, chances are, if you're worried about being awkward, you almost, for like everyone who's shot in the cosplay scene, almost certainly you are not the most awkward person we have worked with. I wouldn't.
Sarah, no.
Oh, no.
No, Sarah!
We lost Sarah.
No.
It disconnected.
Well, at least we hear you. Just lose
Oh,
your...
dude, Discord's being
Sarah,
a piece of shit.
And I don't know what to do.
I turned it back on. Why is it
Sarah.
not working?
Oh, Sarah. Oh, Sarah, no. Sarah. Oh, no. Sarah, did I tell you?
Sarah.
Sarah, did I tell you about how? Okay, after I showed you this, I walked up to our friend Cass and I just started going like, "Sarah, help!" And Cass has never seen this video, and was just like,
I've also never seen this video.
Sarah, like she thought I thought.
She's not. It was like drunk looking for you.
And by the way, Cass, like, it looks fucking nothing like you. So like.
That's great. That video is hilarious after you showed it.
I cannot believe there are people in this year of our Lord who've not watched the Sarah Help video. If everyone's not seen it, please go
Google
watch it.
Sarah Help video.
It's
If you
so
don't see
funny.
Hey, can you like pause this entire thing and just put the Sarah Help video up? In the Twitch stream?
I wish I had that set up for that, but I do not. I'm sorry. I've failed you
So
all.
funny. I was
I've
losing
failed
my
you
shit.
all. I'm sorry.
This video is not new. Like, I cannot believe you guys somehow missed this.
Just on the internet a lot.
This video is from 2014.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed that because it seems like something I would want or
Very good.
Well, if
It's
people
so
want context,
funny.
I've pasted this link in the chat.
Everyone,
Please watch
There we
this
go.
video.
this video.
But
So now we can all understand this meme.
last thing I want to say on this photographer's do's and don'ts thing. You chances are you're not the most awkward person. Just don't worry about that too much. Talk
I
to
feel like
them
there's
up
so many
front.
do's and don'ts.
The biggest thing I would say is afterwards, have a clear understanding of what you can and can't do with the photos, and if you have any question, ask the photographer. Just don't do the thing. Don't
Assume.
Yeah.
Well,
If it's not stated, don't assume.
Sarah, speaking of doing the thing, I need to ask you about publishing rates.
Oh man.
My book. For
Oh
my
man.
book.
Sarah's just like
You always have rights. It's fine. You don't need
I'm gonna ask you afterwards, but for my sweet, sweet book.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, like just make sure that you know what's okay and what's not okay, and if you there's something that you want to do. Oh man, lost her video again.
Oh my god.
If there's something that you want to do with the
Sarah!
photo, if there's something that you want to do with the photo, ask the photographer about it, and if they say no, be cool with it. And like I said, just communicate, because that's going to fix most of the problems. And
Oh, actually,
don't be a douche.
White Spec has a really good point. I think this might not occur to people because it didn't occur to me. That Patreon is selling, and so you should check with your photographer about releasing behind a paywall.
Yes. Oh, I think the one thing that I want to clarify here is that just because you paid for a shoot does not mean you own the photos. Unless you have signed something that says explicitly that you now own the copyright to these photos. You do not own these photos. I don't care what the fuck you say. You do not own them. You do not own them. If your finger did not press the shutter and you're not being, there's not an employee, like you're not employed somewhere being paid to it contractually, or you don't have the literal signed copyright, you do not own those photos. You just don't.
Or at least full rights. Like you don't own them enough that you are allowed to make the decision.
Yeah,
like, my contract says, yes, you can put them on business cards. Yes, you can print them for your store, but you still got to ask me when you're going to do it.
Yep.
So it's like, even though you're signing that saying that you are allowed to print for X, Y, and Z, it doesn't mean you can
I think the biggest thing that I could point people to is...
I didn't even think about business cards.
Yeah, think about it in terms of like
I've asked about business cards before.
The traditional wedding or like traditional wedding photography industry. You don't you have to pay to get those photos printed. You don't just because you had a photographer come and shoot your wedding doesn't mean you have anything. You have to pay to have those, like any photo that you want printed, unless you paid to get those, like a specific rights to have those photos owned by you. You have to pay to get them printed. You have to pay for everything. Like this is not a new thing. This isn't like new news. Sorry if I'm getting heated about this because I have.
I just think it's funny that you're assuming that most cosplayers are married.
No, that is probably not a good thing to
like cosplay photography is probably the first and only like brush with photography copyright most cosplayers have had.
I had someone try and sling legal at me. Yeah, I've had some people try and sling legal stuff at me that have no understanding whatsoever, and it's just like, what, you don't know what you're talking about.
I think that at the end of the day, like a lot of people get that like this hobby, like when you're working with someone, emphasis on working with someone, it's a collaborative process. Like this is not a one-man team thing. Like you are working with someone else, therefore you need to understand and respect that person's rules or whatever, for a lack of a better term.
Yes.
Well, my camera's literally never gonna work.
Yeah, sorry, you might need to restart it.
Oh man.
I don't want to fuck up the layout though. At least you can still hear me.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Yeah, because if you disconnect, it's gonna get real jank up in here.
Yeah, I'd rather just stay on and pray to God.
No, what if you restart your camera?
I did.
Discord. Oh.
I think my internet's actually kind of bad because I keep seeing the kind of like the red disconnect thing in Discord. So. Yeah.
Who knows?
Audio.
At least we can hear you. That's way more important than seeing you, I think. But
you don't need to see me.
Oh, I want more alcohol. No, I don't want to make you get more alcohol. That's fine.
Don't get more boozies.
Okay. Beyond Infinite Media asked. Sorry, we spent a lot of time on that question, but I thought it was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, Beyond Infinite Media asks, what makes a good/great photo for you? I got feelings on you.
Well, we can all go in a circle and thus get alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Bye.
Who's starting this circle?
It is I only get to drink at cons and when we do these things, because otherwise I'm sewing. So whatever.
You can sew while drinking. It's fine.
Oh no, you cannot.
Yes, you can.
No.
I do it. That's why all my stuff is shit.
Sarah.
All right, who's starting off on this this question?
I need to think about it for a hot sec. This
What makes
is
a good photo?
this is not
I know what makes a good. I know what I like in a
Okay,
photo.
go for it. Go
this
for
is
it.
not an easy question.
So for me, and this is different for other cosplayers, but for me, cosplay is really an art expression. When I make a costume, I consider it I'm making art. And so I kind of really like an artistic slant to a lot of my photography. I'm really into really beautiful portraiture, really beautiful colors. And then if a photographer also happens to have a very moody, emotional style, that really tips it over the edge for me. So those are the kind of photos that I tend to lean towards. I like a little bit more dramatic editing. And I like it when I still look like myself. I actually really don't like it when my skin is super blurred out. So that's what I really like in photos a lot, personally. But that's just me.
So, Sarah, if you're not ready yet,
Time to get dramatic.
I love drama, Sarah. I don't know if you have noticed that.
I love tea.
I don't. Leave me out of it. Leave me out of it. I'm gone.
Oh, just my hammy.
Sarah, do you have your thoughts yet, or do you want me to go?
It's such a subjective question that I'm like having a hard time.
Honestly, I think it to me is like so I have kind of like several criteria for like photos that kind of lend to it being good. It's like composition, lighting, color, posing, like all of these things. And I think you need to have like at least 3 of those things for it even to like fall into the category of good. Because I think if you nail any one thing in a photo, that's not enough. There is one exception to this, and I think that's what really seals the deal for me with photography is lighting. So if you have good lighting in a photo, it's not great composition, it's not an interesting pose, but like the lighting's good, chances are you have an okay photo. Like it's not gonna blow anyone's mind, but they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's decent. And then on the flip side, if you have like a photo that's composed really nicely, it's posed really nicely, the colors are really good, and the lighting is terrible, like it's a crappy photo. Like lighting is I think the basis for photos for me. That's why when like I know when I shoot, the very first thing that I'm looking for is, does the lighting in this angle work? If the lighting works, then I'll try and fit everything else into this. If the lighting doesn't work, then I need to figure something else out. Like, yeah, maybe it means I lose shooting against this kind of cool backdrop, or, you know, maybe this cool compositional idea. But if the lighting looks like crap, it just isn't going to work. At least that is my viewpoint on it.
It's hard. I feel like my viewpoint. Oh God.
Well, how about what kind of photos do you enjoy taking, or what kind of subject matter do you enjoy?
Yeah, I think I might answer this in like 2 different ways. Like maybe to me, like what objectively makes a good photo versus maybe just from like an artistic standpoint, what I like in a photo. So like things that I like photographing are ornate costumes, things with a lot of detail, or things that have like a lot of flowy bits that I can flip. I love flipping shit in photos.
Or Zelda. Or Zelda.
Yeah. Also, just like stick anyone in some flowers. That's great too.
Yeah.
And golden hour. Like if I can do any of those like three or 4 things I just mentioned, I'm a happy camper.
So it's always interesting. I feel like Sarah, you and I are just like trying to like.
Also, you're like cutting out a lot, so
sorry.
It's just...
I think it's just you, but I don't know. I hear myself, but
okay.
You sound fine to me. All of you sound fine to me. Well, and how about part 2, Sarah? What are your favorite photos, and what are the aspects of those that make them your favorite photos?
So, like, a big thing right now that I'm really into is photographing a situation that allows me to be a little more adventurous with colors, or something that is forcing me to work with like complementary colors. So like actually your Helga's a really good example because it was like red against green. Like those are two colors that, I mean, complementary, you would think they would look good together, but they actually don't. Complementary are opposites on the color wheel. They look gross usually. But if you manipulate them enough in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever program you're using, you can get it to work in a very beautiful way. So I like, right now I'm really into the whole like big like color contrast thing. I do think though, like, I know we say this on critiques a lot, like there's no right or wrong answer to an art form, but there are rules that you should be at least following to I always say this without sounding like a bitch. Like,
not suck.
Just don't
You have
suck,
to
and then you have a
know
good
why
photo.
you're breaking them if you're going to break them.
Yeah.
some photos are just bad because the background is bad, the lighting is bad, the composition is shitty because it's like half their body's getting cut off,
Out of their head.
yeah, or like a limb is too close to the edge of the crop, or like the hair flip is just bad. Like there's a lot of things that can make a photo just inherently bad, even though there's no right or wrong way. I think that's the hard part to grasp in an art form is like,
Yeah. I think that,
yeah, there's no like correct answer to how to like sew a corset, for example, but the techniques that you decide to
yes,
use.
there is, Sarah.
Shh, I don't sew.
No. I know what you mean because this reminds me a lot of a panel that I try to run and like mildly succeed at sometimes, and it's about designing. And the problem is that like you can talk about like here's what you should think about all the live long day, but at the end of the day, you cannot describe what it takes to have an artistic eye. You cannot describe, hey, look at this thing and decide where is it too top heavy? Where should the art go? Where should the details go? That is very much an intrinsic artistic mindset.
Yes.
And you cannot describe how to be good at art.
No, thank you. Okay, so like
yes.
not to bring up my parents, but like my mom says that to me all the time because sometimes I'll talk to her about this because I'm like, Mom, I don't know how to explain to these people that this art is bad without sounding like a bitch. And she says every single time, she's like, well, that's because that's the artist in you. And not everyone is an artist. Like
I think
at the end of like art is not something, in my opinion, that is easily taught. Like, yeah, you can be like really like camera tech savvy. Okay, great. You have like all these fucking strobes and you have these bodies and you know like the difference between like the Mark III and the Mark IV. But like if you artistically cannot compose an image in your head or understand like visually what it is that you're trying to achieve, it's not going to be a good photo.
I think you're getting at something that I kind of feel like can be explained a little bit, which is that I think a lot of art has to do with intention. Like, do you know why you're doing a thing? Not just that you did it, like, why are you doing it? And
wait, I have a really good example.
Go for it, Sarah.
I hold on, I need to go to my drive. I just posted this photo. Wait, I'll just go to Twitter because I don't want to download it. So I know I said that like I love like flipping flowy fabrics and photos, but I don't do it with just for the effect of doing it. Like sometimes you'll see a photo and you're like, why is the hair flipped? That makes no fucking sense. They just did it because it's like
frame. Sarah, I'm an artist. I know it fills the frame.
Exactly. So I want to post a photo that I just edited last night. Here's an example of a flip, but it has intention to it. So I photographed the main character from Demon Slayers.
Oh, that's so cool.
And ultimately his power ends up being like a water element attack with his sword. And the outfit that the cosplayer is wearing in that photo is like the very beginning stages of the main character's like story. So he hasn't really mastered his art form yet. So basically, I used the scarf that the character does have. It's blue, and I wanted it to flow like water, kind of hinting at the main character's elemental powers later on. So, like, I didn't flip it to, you know, like you said, to fill the frame or to add movement, like, for no reason.
Yes.
Like, I do these things because I want it there, and there's, like, a reason I did it. Not just
and I think
everyone's fucking flipping capes or whatever.
And I think that's a detailed intention. But like, I would even say that you could be even lighter than that, where you're just like, hey, I did this. Like, my biggest thing is Dutch angles. Like, everyone knows how I feel about Dutch angles. But like, my biggest pet peeve with Dutch angles is because most people, when I feel like I see the image, they went, okay, this is straight up. This isn't art. Now it's art.
Stop. Okay,
That's how I feel about Dutch angles. Thanks to Jackarufu with those Dutch angle emotes in the chat. But like, a Dutch angle can be amazing when it's done for an artistic reason, where it's just like, oh,
with intent.
I did the Dutch angle because I was trying to capture like unease or lack of balance in this photo, or I did it because like I'm capturing the prop a certain way and wanted to fill the frame, or I did it blah 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 to capture the motion and really have it dynamic. Like, there's plenty of reasons why Dutch angles work in a photo.
Like,
but
I
just
remember,
turning
I was watching like some anime the other day, but there was like a ton of Dutch angle in it, like in the frame. But that's because the mood of the scene. Yeah, sure. And the mood of it was like supposed to be kind of like anxiety inducing, like kind of stressful, and like the Dutch angle does help with that.
Yes.
But if you're literally just a person just like fucking standing there looking pretty at a Dutch angle, it looks like you're falling over. But if you're trying to convey like an emotion or like a feeling, Dutch angle is a way to get to that.
Yeah, like, I did this, like, when I was starting out with photography. I can go back to like old photos. I have so many that are just fucking crooked because I was like, Dutch angle, it's art.
Ooh, Gilgamesh.
So I think we've got like two different expressions of like art here, and so like the thing that you two are like really kind of focusing in on is like what you as an artist are trying to convey from like an emotional standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, and that is not really something that can be learned. That is something that is coming from you, a human being, and like no one can teach you how to do that. But then you have this other aspect, which is could be applied more to design and more to what actually looks good in the damn photography frame. The technical aspect. And that is still really difficult to teach because it is art. But I think if you look at great examples and you look at examples that are not so great and have someone point out to you, well, why is this not so great? You can get better at that, and you can get a more artistic eye. So like, you know, we were talking about makeup. We were not good at makeup on art 5 years ago, but like the more videos we watch, the more we practice, the more we understand what looks good, what looks bad from a technical point of view. And so I think that is one really good way to learn how to become technically better at art, but that emotional storytelling, that's always going to come from you, no matter what.
And
I think that's interesting that you brought that up because this happens at every con. You have the person who's taking up like an acre of like floor space at a con. They have like 5 fucking strobes and like their fucking camera gear everywhere, and they're just taking the same fucking photo every single time. That's great. And you're like, okay, you have this nice gear that's like an okay composition, like the light is nice, but then they quote unquote like edit it, and it's just, I'm sorry, it's sterile. So yes, you had all of the things working for you up until the point that you had to edit it. So like a good way, like maybe if you're not able to like tell a story through a photo, at least it's like a good way to explore like increasing your artistic talent is editing. Like play with colors, play with like Photoshop.
I have a question actually. I have a question for you too. How much does it help to have a cosplayer who is also good at emotional storytelling? Is it negligible and you can mostly accomplish what you want through your framing and angling and editing, or is it actually quite a big help to have someone who can pose their body in the correct way?
So I love how both Sarah, you and I, our first response is
I don't know. I have no idea.
That is such a hard question. It's a good question, but a hard one.
It is a good question.
I think that part of that is that, like, I would say I'm actually real shit at storytelling in photos. Like, that's one of, like, maybe my weakest areas in photography, because it's not a thing that really, like, I have thoughts in my head when I'm composing things, but rarely is it like that I'm explicitly trying to tell stories in a shot. It's usually pretty subtle ideas, like more like mood than it is straight up story.
No, sorry. I mean, there are very few photographers I can think of who are, like, amazing storytellers. I mean, the mood, the emotion, like a good photo.
So,
go ahead, Sarah.
I'm a firm believer. Again, this is a personal preference. Anyway, so color grading is my favorite part of photography. Like, the actual photo taking process is not my favorite, because I'm not a technical person. I pray to God that my photo is going to be in focus, because even after all these years, God help me. But the editing for me is where a photo really comes to life, and it's where I believe is the thing that is super necessary for cosplay photography. Like, we're dressing up as fictional characters, for crying out loud. And if all you're going to do is increase brightness and contrast to a photo, like, that's not enough. Like, we don't spend hours of our time putting on makeup and making these costumes, or even buying them off of Taobao. I don't care what you do. Like, we're putting a cognizant amount of effort to bring this to life. So I think the photo should do the same thing. And I think even if your composition is really strong narratively, if you don't edit it, like, you're only 50% there. The editing is what will really make that photo of you as, like, Kiki walking down the street with a black cat come to life. Like, but if it's kind of just edited in a very, like, basic way, I think a lot of that magic is lost. I think people think editing is, I want to say, like, a waste of time, but I feel like people don't invest enough time into it, because I don't feel like they understand the payback that you get by doing it. If that answers your question, I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
But I find like, this is sort of not applicable, but it reminded me of, like, if you ever look at, like, the B-reel or the behind the scenes for, like, films, and you're looking at, like, how the costumes and the actors and everything look in the, like, totally untouched footage that is just, like, raw out of the camera when they're, like, dicking around, and then versus how it looks in the film, and, like, how much what they're doing. And as somebody who doesn't do any photo, I'm like, well, I think they changed the colors, but I don't understand what they did. But, like, it's so clear that they made all these evoke a mood and to, like, help with the story that they're telling.
Yep.
I think, like a good example is, I don't know why I keep bringing up Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's because I just saw Miguel as Jack Sparrow. That's all I can think about. So, well, like, think about if you saw the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but the way that the whole movie was color graded was high saturation, like, super bright colors. It just wouldn't have the same kind of, like, historical impact visually if it wasn't edited in that more muted tone. Or, like, another good example of the Harry Potter films. Like, as you go from each movie, it gets darker and darker and darker, and they convey that visually as well. Like, when you compare the first movie versus the last movie, the first movie is, like, nice and warm. It's, like, warmly lit. The colors are nice and vibrant. And then you get to the last movie where everyone's fucking dying, and it's all muted and, like, very gray and, like, very overcast. Like, it's not warm at all. And, like, those are the things that really, like, immerse yourself into those.
I do think every element of a photo can lend itself to a story, like composition, posing, color, lighting. Everything can lend it there. We're pretty much wrapped up on that hour, but there's a couple questions left in chat that I want to get to, that I don't want to leave hanging before we move on from the thing. Oh, Sarah's back!
Sarah!
Yay!
Finally. That's hilarious. Did you even click anything, Sarah? Or just come back on?
No, it's just been loading.
That's hilarious that it finally actually came. I wanted to address this one quick from Parth, which said they just bought their first DSLR, a Nikon D5000. Any suggestions on what to buy right away as opposed to things that can wait?
Bag, so you don't drop it.
I have a couple thoughts on this, and
Extra lens caps so you don't lose them like I do.
Photography is quote unquote expensive, but I think some of the the best and easiest tools are like the cheapest. Buy a 50mm 1.8.
I don't even know what the D5000
50mm, yeah.
Buy a reflector.
That was my other suggestion: is buy a reflector. They're like, you can get one for like $30 on Amazon.
No, they're like $15 on it.
Well, the point being is they're freaking cheap. Buy a reflector. Like I kind of made the statement earlier, is that I feel like lighting is the most important part. You can learn to use a reflector, take off the reflector part and use the diffuser as well. They're so easy, and they can improve lighting so dramatically in ways that like you could not get with this, you'd have to spend like $1,000 on a strobe to be able to do that. It's so easy. You spent like $30 on this, and it's awesome. Those are my two suggestions on things to get that are cheap, that are really awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say 50
snacks for the
millimeter.
person who's holding, whole move where you're like holding it, so it's just perfectly over their face.
Any other thoughts on this one, or I want to keep rolling through?
50mm and a good camera strap, because the default ones are trash.
Yeah, that's true. This one, I thought this was an interesting one from Philip Jedra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Is what's the difference with shooting cosplay versus shooting other subjects? And I think maybe to bring this a little bit around, so you guys also can have a little bit more, maybe like what the difference between like doing either makeup or just in general posing for cosplay versus maybe other types of like non-cosplay related, but I don't know.
The makeup rule still applies.
Yes.
Whether you're modeling or not. I mean, cosplay versus fashion or whatever the fuck it is that you're doing.
I think to me, I go harder on retouching than I would outside of cosplay, because like I'm trying to recreate most of the time like anime or video game characters that like have flawless skin. And I tend to take that retouching to emulate that. Whereas like if I was doing a portrait session, I would not be retouching nearly that far. And that's just a thing, because like that's my goal there is to kind of match that and not really, make sure that you look exactly like you, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to Barbie doll anyone. But,
yeah. I mean, like cosplay is the whole point of cosplay photography is you're to evoke something else very specific, whereas like in fashion or portraiture, you're trying to represent an object or a person as they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the kind of on the flip side, I feel like depends on the cosplayer, but I feel like you can't be quite as aggressive in color grading in cosplay photography as you can in like portraiture and other stuff, because like if I was taking portraiture, I could go crazy with the colors and I could change someone's like hair color or their outfit color and to match a mood, and it's totally fine. Whereas cosplay, it's just like, no, but that's the character's like that's what the character's color of their outfit is, and you can't do that.
Well, I mean, I think it depends what you're photographing.
Yeah, like I said, it depends on who the cosplayer is and what specifically it is.
Yeah, like I'm not going to change their hair color, but am I going to give a different color? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on that one? Got one final one from Jackarufu, and then I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here. Okay, then let's get to this last one from Jackarufu. What is one thing a cosplayer can do before a shoot to make the photographer's life easier or create a better shooting experience?
Bring an assistant, dear God. because I don't always have an assistant. Like when I say bring a friend to a shoot, that's also low key me saying they can help me flip hair and capes.
Yes.
Pay me. I'm kidding. No, seriously, bring someone with you.
Especially if it's someone who like, you know, is willing to help, and especially if they're willing to keep their eye out for like problems with the cosplay, like
So when I say assist,
yeah.
I don't mean someone who is just there to like present. I mean, this is someone who is making sure that like the wig isn't falling back, or the pose doesn't look weird, or the costume isn't, you know, falling down, or
Oh yeah, that is so like, okay, if there is no assistant, that is so obnoxious getting like your whole set of photos back and it's like, oh cool, the cake that I couldn't see was like totally fucking backwards or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because there's sometimes things that like as a cosplay photographer we don't actually like know, like, oh, we didn't know that necklace was on crooked or something, that like,
or we just don't see it because we're trying to take into account a million other things. It's hard because even though I'm a cosplayer and I'm pissed at myself if I see a photo and it's whack, I'm like, oh,
sometimes I will like say before starting, I'll be like, oh, tell me if this thing gets jacked or something. Like if there's something that I know gets twisted, I'll like try and point it out ahead of time, so that way people can keep an eye on it.
I actually had one of the best assistants last weekend on my final shoot on Sunday. The cosplayer brought her boyfriend with her, and he was great. He held my bag. He watched our stuff.
What a treasure!
And like he even like while I was shooting, he was looking up pose references and like helping her pose and like making sure her hair looked good. And I was like, "You're a blessing."
On the flip,
right there.
On the flip side of this, my recommendation for photographers in this case is acknowledge the boyfriend, significant other, whatever that person that's coming along with the shoot.
Like, come on.
Yeah, like don't make them like tag along and be bored and not talk. Like involve them in it. It'll make the experience better for everyone. Like
I ended up talking to the boyfriend about Zelda the time. It was great.
Yeah, that's always really like I've definitely done that for Regan. Assistance needed costumes, and there's like a specific photographer I'm thinking of, but I won't name names.
Is that douche Vontography?
Doesn't say a single word to me, even like
we've worked with him like 5 times.
Yeah, like enough that like you should know me and like say hello to me.
Ew, die in a fire.
It's so awkward.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
great.
I'm trying to help you make a good photo because I know how her costume should look and how it's all put on because I put it on her. So just
we love assholes in this community. Just kidding.
No, I know who you're talking about. I'll tell you afterwards who we're talking about.
Oh hell yeah! I'm ready.
But I mean, we also have like this kind of advantage because we are a duo. And there's definitely been situations because like I'm a fucking micromanager. You have fucking seen how I work. And like so Scone will be being photographed and I'll be there in like an equally large outfit and be like, I will now flip the cape in my big ass fucking outfit and like get away. Like and everyone's always just like, oh no, are you sure? I'm like, yup. Like
I love it.
It's all the hair. Like, but I mean that's just like the way we work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just easier.
I appreciate it. I love it.
Yep. No,
I have no problem with it.
I think that's a good place to wrap up this Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who asked questions, whether it was previous in Instagram stories to give us suggestions for the first hour or if it was in chat. You guys make this way more fun and way more interesting. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. So huge thank you to Scone and Regan of Cowbutt Crunchies. We appreciate the hell out of you guys for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
They're so fun all the time. and you know what you're doing.
Dutch angle.
We love Dutch angles.
Love Dutch angle.
Where can people find your work online?
So you can find us at Cowbutt Crunchies on Instagram's our primary social media right now. Facebook, Patreon has a lot of tutorials, and also all of our funds are donated to cat charities because we love cats. Or you can find us at Cowbutt Crunchy with no S on Twitter because they have a weird character limit.
And is there
Interesting.
is there any upcoming con that you guys are going to that people can keep an eye out for you guys at?
So we'll be at Dragon Con on Labor Day, followed by a secret con in October that we'll announce soon. Granite Con in September.
Daisho Con
in November.
Oh man, that's official. That's
and
awesome.
also, fingers fucking crossed, in September I will be putting up the Kickstarter for our new wig ebook. So we'll see.
Awesome.
No Colossal Ease?
No, because of Dragon Con. I think we're gonna go next year. Though.
Next year we're gonna skip Dragon Con and try
do
Colossal.
East. That's our plan.
Well,
It's way
I'm
too
excited.
apart
I'm
right
excited
now.
that you're coming to Daisho. I'll tell you that much.
I'm excited to go to Daisho. It seems
Where
like
the fuck is
we're gonna bring
Daisho?
Diamonds.
It's in
Daisho is in Wisconsin, but it's in Kalahari.
Yeah, it's in Wisconsin.
Oh my god, is it
Who
really?
the fuck's in Wisconsin? Who would be
I
there?
don't know. What loser lives there?
Here's the thing. When we go and guest at cons, our like number one priority is to like hang out with cosplayers that we've never gotten to see before in like new areas.
Yeah.
So like I am super excited.
No, I'm excited that you guys are making it out to my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Mahomedi. Yeah, what asshole lives in Wisconsin? Another Wisconsinite in the chat. Sarah, where can people find your work and keep up with you, and what do you have going on next?
Me?
Yes. No, the other Sarah.
No,
that's
the
on the
other
stream.
Sarah.
Me? I was like, I already know. Instagram.
I should just
Sarah's Instagram is Sorairo-Days, and you can find all of her
Just find me
photography
here on
work under that name.
Everywhere.
I feel like I should just do your entire spiel. Her next upcoming con is Colossal Con East. Are you doing bookings?
I might be going to. I don't know what it is though. Joe's trying to get me to go to Anime NYC, but when the fuck is it?
But
That's soon.
wait,
that's a
in,
summer
no,
con.
that's in November. No, Anime NYC
Oh,
isn't
is
that the
it?
Crunchyroll con?
Yeah.
November.
Powered by
it was a
Crunchyroll,
summer
November 15th through 17th. Fuck, when's Colossal East?
September 15th.
Oh.
Sarah, what do you got?
Okay, then I guess
What are you
yeah.
doing?
Oh no, we're not gonna be there, Sarah. We're gonna be in fucking Daisho Con.
Oh, is that what CCE stands for? I kept seeing people talking about CCE, and I was like, I don't know what con that is.
Colossal East?
Colossal Con.
Yeah.
Wait, but that's not
Fuck,
what.
that's soon.
That's not 3 words.
Colossal Con
What?
East.
Colossal Con East.
Yeah,
It's not a
Colossal
great
Con is a
acronym.
single fucking word.
I don't
It's
know.
not a great
Okay,
acronym. I didn't come up with
it.
it.
That's dumb. I'm gonna just straight up say it. That's dumb.
Well, we never said nerds were smart.
Accurate.
We're not intelligent.
Are you booking for any of those, Sarah? Do you know?
What?
Are you booking for upcoming cons? Trying to get your information out there, Sarah.
You literally cut out.
You taking booking?
Are you booking
No.
for any cons? Okay.
Colossal East, maybe. No.
So
I would literally won't. I was gonna say I won't know until a month out. Just kidding, it is a month out.
yeah.
Fuck me.
So I'm trying to I'm still
no.
I'm still on the fence for Classicon East. I need to figure things out like
You
this
need to
weekend.
tell me.
I'm planning on getting things this weekend and figuring that out. So you will know very soon whether I'm going or not. I will.
No, don't take my money.
if-
You are
If
babu and poor.
if I am going, which I feel pretty confident that I will end up going, I will be doing bookings. So Jackarufu, if you want to throw money at me, I'll take your money.
I shoot you are free for free.
You can find me on Facebook at Vontography, on Instagram at Vontog, and obviously you know where the hell to find me on Twitch because you're already here. I want to thank everyone for showing up again. If you enjoyed the show, please consider donating. The donation link is underneath the chat or underneath the Twitch stuff. And then if you also are enjoying it, consider subscribing. You don't get a lot for it. I need to really do some new subscriber emotes and some subscriber badges. We're gonna get on that here in like the next week or so. So you'll get more for it very soon. But I need to get on that. But none of this is expected by any means, but it is greatly appreciated. My little spiel that I feel like every streamer does here, insert here, is if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which means you have one free sub per month to give to whatever streamer that you want. And please, for the love of God, if you don't use it here, which we would love, use it somewhere. Use it on like a streamer at least, because otherwise that money is just going nowhere and you're giving it back to Jeff Bezos.
To Jeff Bezos.
He don't need that shit.
Rocket ships.
Like that dude needs more fucking money.
What do you say? What do you say we wrap it up and host raid Kaze Mike, because apparently he is editing some photos. Let's actually
he was playing with fucking
let's raid Kaze Mike and yell at him shame him for not editing photos because he's playing with marbles.
What does that even mean?
He's got this marbles thing like that he's doing on stream like all the time.
Marble or marble?
Marbles.
Oh. I was like, Marvel, and then you're like, Marvel.
No,
like,
literally marbles. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay, well, thank you everyone for showing up. We appreciate the hell out of you. Don't know when the next episode's going to be because I'm terrible at planning things out ahead of time lately. But it'll be sometime in the near future. Probably a critique next, and then I don't know. We'll figure things out. Well, you'll know sometime. So, thanks again, Cowbutt Crunchies, for you guys showing up. It was greatly appreciated, and I think that's it for our show. And as always, think about what you put out into the world. Make it a better place. Have a good one. Bye.